John Carter stood by the viewing port of the transport ship. The massive council station Aurelius hung against the backdrop of stars like a gleaming metal flower. Its 5 petal-shaped sections extended from a central hub, each one representing one of the founding species of the Galactic Council. After 6 months of travel, they had finally arrived. Quite a sight, isn't it? Susan Miller joined him at the window. Her blue uniform matched his own, both bearing the Earth insignia, a simple blue circle with white continents. "I never thought I'd see anything like this," John said. Humanity's first steps into the galactic community. Kevin Pierce, their tech specialist, approached with a tablet. "Final briefing materials, sir. The Council has approved our docking request." John nodded. "Let's hope they're as welcoming as their messages suggested." The truth was that Earth had kept certain things secret. Their rapid development of faster-than-light travel had shocked the galaxy. What the Council didn't know was that humans had also made quick advances in weapons and defense systems. John's job was to secure Earth's place in the galactic community without revealing too much. As their ship docked, John felt the slight shudder of the magnetic clamps. A soft hiss indicated the airlocks were connecting. He straightened his uniform and faced his small team. "Remember, we represent all of humanity now. First impressions matter." The doors slid open to reveal a reception party of different alien species. At the front stood a tall, blue-skinned being with silver eyes. "Welcome to Aurelius Station. I am Diplomat Kirval of the Zephyrian Empire." The alien's translator made its voice sound almost musical. "The Council awaits your formal introduction." John stepped forward and bowed slightly. "John Carter, representing Earth and all humanity. We come in peace and friendship." The halls of the station were enormous, with ceilings that rose at least 30 feet. Beings of all shapes and sizes moved through the corridors. Some floated, others crawled, many walked on varying numbers of legs. "The Council has existed for 12,000 years, Kirval explained as they walked. "We have brought peace and order to nearly 60% of the galaxy." "Impressive," John said. "Earth looks forward to contributing to that peace." Kirval's silver eyes studied him. "Yes, contributing. That is what new species do." After a long walk, they reached a massive chamber. A semicircle of raised platforms held representatives from dozens of species. At the center, on the highest platform, sat a being that looked like a cross between a lizard and an insect. "High Counselor Vextar," Kirval announced, "leader of the Council for the past 3 centuries." Vextar's compound eyes fixed on John. "Earth has developed quite rapidly," the alien said through its translator, "faster than most emerging species. This is unusual." John smiled. "Humans are adaptable. We learn quickly." "Indeed." Vextar's mandibles clicked. "We have reviewed your application for membership. There are concerns." Susan stepped slightly closer to John. This wasn't the welcome they expected. "What concerns?" John asked. A holographic display appeared in the center of the room, showing Earth's solar system. "Your military capabilities," said another council member, a red-skinned being with 4 arms. "For a species so new to space travel, you maintain a large armed force." "For defense only," John assured them. "We come from a historically divided world. Old habits are hard to break." Vextar's eyes narrowed. "Yes, we have studied your history. So much conflict, so much war." The meeting continued for hours as John explained Earth's position and desires. Some council members seemed friendly, others suspicious. By the end, John was exhausted. Back in their assigned quarters, Kevin collapsed into a chair. "That went well, didn't it?" Susan shook her head. "They're afraid of us. Did you see how they reacted when you mentioned our mining operations in the asteroid belt?" John looked out at the stars. "We have 3 weeks of negotiations ahead. We'll convince them that humanity belongs here." He smiled at his team. "After all, what's the worst that could happen?" None of them noticed the small recording device hidden in the corner of their room, its light blinking steadily. 3 weeks passed quickly on Aurelius Station. John Carter had attended dozens of meetings with various council representatives. Today marked what he hoped would be their final session before Earth received provisional membership status. "You look tired," Susan said as they walked together toward the main council chamber. John smiled weakly. "Just ready to wrap this up. I think we've made good progress." Kevin hurried to catch up with them, his face flushed with excitement. "The Arxians want to establish a direct trade agreement. Their ambassador just told me they're impressed with our manufacturing techniques." "That's the third species this week," Susan noted. "Maybe we're finally winning them over." John nodded but remained cautious. High Counselor Vextar had been notably absent from their recent meetings. Something felt off. As they approached the council chamber, John noticed more security than usual. Tall, armored guards from the crawl species lined the hallway, their 4 eyes tracking the humans' every move. "That's new," Kevin whispered. Inside the chamber, John immediately sensed the change in atmosphere. The usual buzz of conversation died as they entered. All council members were present, including Vextar, who sat rigidly at the center podium. "Representatives of Earth." Vextar's voice boomed without using the typical polite greeting. "The council has reached a decision regarding your application." John stepped forward. "We're eager to hear it." Before that, Vextar continued, "We must address certain discoveries." A holographic display activated in the center of the room. It showed images of Earth's military installations, weapons testing facilities, and what appeared to be classified defense systems. John's stomach dropped. Those were secured files, never shared with the council. Vextar's compound eyes fixed on John. "You came to us claiming peaceful intentions while hiding your true military capabilities. Every species has a right to self-defense," John argued. Silence. Vextar slammed a clawed hand down. "The council has evidence that Earth planned to use membership as a way to access advanced technologies for weapons development." Susan stepped forward. "That's completely false. We've been transparent about." 2 crawled guards suddenly moved to block the exits. John realized this wasn't a normal meeting. It was a trap. By unanimous vote, Vextar announced, "The council finds Earth's representatives guilty of espionage and conspiracy against galactic peace." The chamber erupted in shouts and accusations from various species. John tried to speak, but his microphone had been cut off. "This is ridiculous," Kevin hissed. "They're making this up." Susan pulled out her communication device. "I'm contacting Earth now." She began typing rapidly as guards moved toward them. "Humans represent a unique threat," Vextar continued above the noise. "Your species develops too quickly, adapts too readily, and harbors too much aggression to join the galactic community." The guards reached them. One grabbed Kevin's arm while another moved toward John. "Susan, send the message now," John shouted as hands seized him. Susan hit the final command just before a guard knocked the device from her hand. The emergency beacon activated, sending a partial message across space toward Earth. "Betrayal. Council hostile. Carter TM in danger. Possible EXE." The device clattered to the floor, where a guard crushed it under a heavy boot. "Take them to holding cells," Vextar ordered. "Prepare for a public trial." As they were dragged away, John locked eyes with Vextar. "You're making a terrible mistake." The High Counselor's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "No, human. The mistake was allowing your kind to reach the stars." In the confusion, no one noticed the small Arxian representative slip away from the chamber, a copy of Susan's partial message stored in its own communication device. Back on Earth, defense systems detected the incoming emergency signal. Alarms began to sound in military headquarters worldwide. The news hit Earth like a thunderbolt. Emergency meetings convened in every major government within hours of receiving Susan's partial message. At United Earth Defense Headquarters, the Situation Room buzzed with grim activity. Admiral William Scott paced the floor, his face hard with anger. "We need to launch a rescue operation immediately." The Carter team is in danger. Our fastest ships would take 5 days to reach Aurelia Station, a junior officer reported. And we have no idea what kind of defenses we'd face. Defense Secretary Patricia Lane entered the room, her face pale. She carried a small black case with a fingerprint scanner. The President has authorized me to access Protocol 0. The room went silent. Most people present had heard rumors about Protocol 0, but few knew what it actually contained. Madam Secretary, Admiral Scott said quietly, "Are you sure that's necessary?" Patricia nodded grimly. "The President thinks we need all options on the table." She pressed her thumb to the scanner. The case clicked open. Meanwhile, on Aurelia Station, John Carter stood in a transparent cell. Guards from 3 different species watched him constantly. They had separated him from Susan and Kevin immediately after arrest. A door slid open, and Vextar entered, flanked by Council security. "Your trial begins in 1 hour," the High Counselor announced. "It will be broadcast to all Council worlds." John approached the barrier. "This is a mistake. Earth poses no threat to the Council. Recent scans of your solar system show military vessels mobilizing," Vextar replied. "Your people prepare for war even now." "They're responding to our distress signal," John explained. "If you release us and open proper negotiations, the Council has voted. Your species requires a lesson in galactic hierarchy." Vextar's compound eyes showed no emotion. "You personally will provide that lesson." In another cell, Susan had managed to loosen a panel near her sleeping platform. The station's recycling system connected to a network of maintenance tunnels. If she could just make the opening a bit wider. The trial was a spectacle designed for maximum impact across the galaxy. John stood in the center of the Council chamber, surrounded by guards. Massive screens projected his image to billions of beings on thousands of worlds. Vextar read the charges: espionage, concealment of military capabilities, intent to destabilize galactic peace. No evidence was presented. No defense was permitted. When John was finally allowed to speak, he stood tall. "I represent a young species," he began, his voice steady. "We've had our struggles and made many mistakes, but humanity has always strived to be better, to reach farther. We came to you in good faith, seeking friendship." Many Council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "If this is justice in the galactic community," John continued, "then perhaps humanity is better off alone. But know this, Earth will not be easily intimidated. We have survived ice ages, plagues, and our own destructive tendencies. We will survive this too." Vextar cut off his speech. "The Council has reached its verdict. Guilty on all charges. The sentence is death, to be carried out immediately." Back on Earth, Patricia Lane opened a secure communication channel to the President. "Ma'am, I've reviewed Protocol 0. It's far more extensive than I imagined. The previous administration developed contingencies for exactly this scenario." President Eleanor Harding's face looked grave on the screen. "What exactly does the protocol entail?" Patricia took a deep breath. It's an annihilation strategy, designed to make any aggressor regret attacking humanity." "Can it save Carter and his team?" "I don't think so, but it ensures their sacrifice won't be meaningless." As they spoke, Admiral Scott burst into the room. "Madam President, we're receiving a galaxy-wide broadcast. They're putting Carter on trial now." The screen split to show the Council chamber. They watched in horror as John Carter faced his accusers with dignity. "Earth will not forget," John said as guards moved to take him away. "Earth will not forgive." The broadcast continued, unflinching, as billions across the galaxy watched the execution of humanity's first envoy. Silence fell across Earth as the broadcast ended. For several minutes, nobody moved in the Situation Room. The image of John Carter's execution burned in everyone's mind. President Eleanor Harding stood slowly, her face a mask of controlled rage. "Get me every world leader on a secure line. Now." Around the globe, riots broke out as news spread. People demanded action, justice, revenge. Military bases went on high alert. Civilian space traffic was grounded immediately. In her office, President Harding faced the Emergency Council. Leaders from every nation appeared on screens around the room. "We have all witnessed an act of barbarism," she began. "The unprovoked execution of our envoy demands a response." The Russian president spoke first. "We must show strength. The council thinks we are weak." "They killed one of our own," added the Indian Prime Minister. "If we do nothing, we invite more aggression." Defense Secretary Patricia Lane stepped forward. "Madam President, Protocol 0 is ready for your final approval." Harding looked at the faces of world leaders. The protocol would mean full-scale war against technologically superior enemies. "We could be destroyed, or we could show them what humans are truly capable of," said Admiral Scott. "Our hidden fleet is ready. Our special weapons are in place." For 48 hours, Earth's leaders debated. Reports from space indicated council ships were already moving toward the Sol system. Time was running out. Meanwhile, on Aurelius Station, Susan Miller crawled through maintenance tunnels. After 3 days of careful work, she had escaped her cell. Now she needed to find Kevin and a way off the station. As she rounded a corner, she nearly ran into a small, green-skinned alien with large eyes. "Stop," the alien whispered. "Guards ahead." Susan froze, ready to fight. "I am Zithril, Arxian diplomat." The alien continued. "I help you." "Why would you help me?" Susan asked suspiciously. "Many on council disagree with Vextar," Zithril explained. "The execution was wrong. Come with me." Susan hesitated, then nodded. She had few options. Zithril led her through back passages to a small living quarters. Inside, Kevin Pierce sat on a couch, his face bruised but alive. "Susan." He jumped up and hugged her tightly. "I thought you were dead." "The Arxians have been hiding him," Zithril explained. "Now we hide you too. Later, we find way to get you home." "Home might not be safe much longer," Susan said grimly. "The council will attack Earth next." Zithril's large eyes blinked. "Maybe. But your people have time to prepare." Back on Earth, the final vote was unanimous. President Harding stood before a joint session of the United Nations. "Today, humanity faces its greatest threat," she said, her voice steady. "An alien council has murdered our diplomat and plans to subjugate our world." Cameras broadcast her words to every corner of Earth. "We did not seek this conflict. We came in peace." Her voice hardened. "But humanity will not bow. We will not surrender. We will not go quietly." She pressed her hand on a biometric scanner. "By unanimous agreement of all Earth nations, I hereby activate Annihilation Protocol 0. Across the planet, military bases hummed with activity. Hidden missile silos opened. Orbital platforms that had been disguised as research stations revealed weapon systems. Deep space beacons went dark as Earth cut all communications with the galaxy. In lunar bases and hidden asteroid facilities, ships that no alien species knew existed powered up. Special Forces units received sealed orders. Admiral Scott addressed his fleet commanders from a secure bunker. "The Council believes they know what humans are capable of," he said. "They're about to learn how wrong they are." As Earth prepared for war, Council ships approached the edge of the solar system. On the lead vessel, Vextar watched sensor readings with confidence. "The humans have gone silent," an officer reported. "Their primitive defenses activate." Vextar's mandibles clicked in amusement. As expected, begin the invasion. The High Counselor had no idea that Earth's silence wasn't fear. It was the calm before a storm, unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. 3 days passed with no sign of human resistance. The Council fleet moved steadily toward Earth, scanning for defenses. Their sensors detected basic orbital stations and a small fleet of military vessels gathering near Mars. "Their technology is primitive," reported the Kraul commander to Vextar. "They have some nuclear weapons and energy shields, but nothing that can stop our fleet." Vextar watched the tactical display with satisfaction. The execution of their envoy has broken their spirit. Prepare landing parties for Earth. We will establish direct control of their governments. Throughout Council space, the invasion was the main topic across all communication channels. Most species believed the conflict would end quickly. Humans were seen as an unfortunate but necessary example of what happened to species that didn't know their place. Then everything changed. On 5 major Council worlds, at exactly the same moment, massive explosions tore through military installations, space docks, command centers, weapons factories, all erupted in balls of fire visible from orbit. On the Zephyrian homeworld, Supreme Commander Calivor stared in shock at reports flooding in. How? There were no ships, no warning, nothing on sensors. Emergency signals poured in from across Council space. The pattern was always the same. Key military targets destroyed with no attacker detected. On his flagship, Vextar raged at his officers. Find the human ships. They must have some kind of cloaking technology. There are no ships, High Counselor, a science officer replied nervously. Whatever weapon they used, it's unlike anything in our records. In their hiding place on Aurelius Station, Susan and Kevin watched the news reports with Zithral. Earth did this? Kevin asked in amazement. Susan nodded slowly. Protocol 0. It must be. I heard rumors about special weapons research, but nothing this advanced. Zithral looked troubled. Your people have hidden much from the galaxy. Just as the Council hid their true intentions from us, Susan replied. Back on Earth, Admiral Scott met with President Harding in a deep underground bunker. First phase complete, he reported. Quantum entanglement bombs have crippled their military infrastructure. President Harding nodded. Casualties? Minimal. We targeted unmanned facilities where possible, as ordered. This was a demonstration of capability, not a massacre. Patricia Lane entered with a data tablet. The Council fleet has stopped advancing. They're holding position just beyond Jupiter's orbit. They're confused, Admiral Scott said with grim satisfaction. They can't understand how we hit them without ships. President Harding studied the tactical display. Are we ready for Phase 2? Yes, Madam President. Special forces are in position across Council space. Commander Ellis reports his teams have infiltrated 6 primary targets, including the Crawl homeworld. In deep space, invisible to Council sensors, human stealth ships moved into position. Inside one, Commander Jason Ellis briefed his team. Our mission is simple, he told the dozen men and women in black combat suits. Disable their planetary defense grid without casualties. This isn't revenge, it's strategy. A soldier spoke up. Sir, they killed Carter. Shouldn't we hit them harder? Ellis shook his head. The protocol isn't about becoming like them. It's about showing them they picked the wrong species to bully. The ship slipped through the Crawl defense perimeter without triggering a single alarm. Technology that Earth had kept hidden for years made them completely invisible to alien sensors. Meanwhile, Major Olivia Wright led a different mission. Her team's objective: rescue any surviving human diplomats and citizens in Council space. Susan Miller is our priority target, she told her team as their ship approached Aurelius Station. Intelligence suggests she's still alive and in hiding. We find her, we may gain valuable intel on Council weaknesses. As her team prepared for insertion, Olivia checked her special equipment. The quantum disruptors could disable any known Council technology with a single pulse. The neural stunners could incapacitate any known species without permanent harm. Earth wasn't just fighting back. It was fighting smart, with technologies no one knew humans possessed. On his flagship, Vextar received another report of a critical facility gone dark. For the first time, the High Counselor felt something unfamiliar. Fear. The Council declared full war against Earth. Every available ship was called to join the fight. Species that had never taken sides in conflicts found themselves forced to provide resources and troops. This human problem must be eliminated completely. Vextar announced to an emergency session of the Council. Their technology threatens the stability of our entire civilization. Not everyone agreed. Several minor species representatives voiced concerns about escalation. The Arxians openly questioned the wisdom of the initial execution. Vextar silenced them all. "Any who stand with humans stand against the Council," he declared. On Aurelius Station, Susan and Kevin prepared to move. Their Arxian friends had warned them that station security was conducting room-by-room searches. "We need to reach Docking Bay 12, Zithril explained. "A cargo ship leaves for the outer territories in 3 hours. The captain will hide you." As they gathered their few possessions, an alarm blared through the station. Red emergency lights flashed in the corridors. "What's happening?" Kevin asked. Zithril checked a communication device. "Security breach in Sector 7. Someone has entered the station without authorization." Susan and Kevin exchanged looks. "Earth forces," Susan whispered hopefully. Their answer came minutes later when the station's power fluctuated. Emergency systems kicked in, but many security doors remained open. "We go now," Zithril urged. "This distraction is good timing." They slipped into the corridor, moving quickly toward the docking bays. Twice they had to hide as security teams ran past. The station was in chaos. In a control room 3 levels below, Major Olivia Wright and her team worked quickly. 2 team members guarded the door while others accessed the station's systems. "I've located 2 human life signs moving toward Docking Bay 12, reported Sergeant Alan Foster. "Could be our targets." Olivia nodded. "Jones, Peterson, intercept them. Be careful. They may have alien escorts." Meanwhile, Commander Ellis's team had successfully infiltrated the Krull Homeworld's Defense Command Center. Using non-lethal weapons, they neutralized the guards without raising alarms. 60 seconds until full access, reported his tech specialist as she worked on the alien computer systems. Ellis watched the door. "Remember, we're not here to cause permanent damage. Just take their defense grid offline for 12 hours. "Sir, with respect, they killed Carter. They're planning to attack Earth," one of his soldiers said quietly. Ellis turned to face his team. "And we're showing them what happens when you attack humans. But we do it our way. Smart, precise, and without becoming monsters ourselves." The tech specialist looked up from her work. "I'm in. Defense grid controls accessed. Begin shutdown sequence," Ellis ordered. Back on the Council flagship, Vextar received increasingly disturbing reports. Defense systems on multiple worlds were failing. Communication networks experienced unexplained outages. Supply ships disappeared. "How are they doing this?" he demanded of his advisors. Their technology was supposed to be generations behind ours. They concealed their true capabilities, an analyst suggested. "The diplomatic mission may have been a ruse to assess our strengths and weaknesses." Vextar slammed his clawed hand on the table. "Find their ships. They must have a fleet somewhere." "High Counselor," a communications officer interrupted. "We're receiving a transmission from Earth." Vextar froze. After days of silence, the humans were finally speaking. "Put it on the main screen." The image of President Eleanor Harding appeared. She sat at a simple desk with Earth's flag behind her. Her expression was calm but determined. "People of the Galactic Council," she began. "3 days ago, your leadership executed our envoy, John Carter, without just cause. You believed this would intimidate us into submission. You were wrong." Vextar hissed but continued watching. "You have seen only a fraction of humanity's capabilities," President Harding continued. "We have shown restraint by targeting military installations while minimizing casualties. This restraint should not be mistaken for weakness." She leaned forward slightly. "The Council has 24 hours to respond to our terms. After that, we will demonstrate the full extent of the Annihilation Protocol." The transmission ended, leaving Vextar staring at a blank screen. "What are their terms?" he asked quietly. The communications officer looked up nervously. "They didn't send any High Counselor." For the first time in his 3 centuries of life, Vextar felt true fear grip his heart. Chaos erupted in the council chamber. Representatives from 50 species argued loudly about how to respond to the human ultimatum. Some demanded immediate surrender. Others called for an all-out attack on Earth. Vextar watched silently from his elevated position. His authority, once absolute, was crumbling. "The humans have not even sent their demands," shouted the Zephyrian delegate. "How can we respond to terms we haven't received?" The Kral representative stood tall on his forelegs. "This is clearly a trick. While we debate, they disable more of our defenses." An aide approached Vextar and whispered urgently in his ear. The High Counselor's compound eyes widened. "Silence." Vextar's voice boomed across the chamber. "We have just received the human terms." The room grew quiet as Vextar activated the central display. President Harding's image appeared again, this time in a recorded message. "Our terms are simple," she stated firmly. "First, the immediate dissolution of the current council leadership. Second, those responsible for John Carter's execution must face justice under interspecies law. Third, acknowledgement of Earth as a full and equal member of a reformed galactic community." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Finally, President Harding continued, "We demand recognition of our sovereign right to defend ourselves without interference." The recording ended. Before anyone could speak, another transmission cut through all channels. This one showed a small uninhabited moon orbiting a council colony world. "To demonstrate our resolve," came a voice without visuals. "Observe." A brief flash of light appeared near the moon. Nothing seemed to happen for several seconds. Then, silently, the moon began to crack. Fissures spread across its surface before it shattered completely into billions of fragments. The council chamber fell into stunned silence. "We have placed similar devices near the homeworlds of all council founding species," the voice continued. "You have 12 hours to comply with our terms." On Aurelius Station, Susan and Kevin rounded a corner and came face to face with two humans in black combat suits. "Susan Miller," one asked, lowering her weapon. "Major Olivia Wright, Earth Special Forces. We're here to extract you." Susan nearly collapsed with relief. "Kevin Pierce is with me," she said, indicating her colleague. "And this is Zithral, an Arctian who helped us hide." Major Wright nodded to the alien. "Thank you for your assistance. We've secured a shuttle in Bay 9. We need to move quickly." As they hurried through the corridors, Susan had to know, "What's happening?" "The station is in chaos. Earth is fighting back," Wright explained. "Protocol 0 has been activated." "What exactly is this protocol?" Kevin asked. Wright glanced at him. "The complete details are classified. But in simple terms, it's every contingency plan, every hidden weapon, every advanced technology we kept secret from the galaxy, all deployed at once." Back on Earth, Admiral Scott reported to President Harding in the war room. "The demonstration was successful," he said. "Our quantum fracture device worked exactly as designed." Patricia Lane nodded. "The moon was uninhabited, as requested. No casualties, but the message should be clear." President Harding looked at the tactical display showing council space. Small lights indicated human special forces teams operating throughout enemy territory. "Any word from Major Wright's extraction team?" she asked. "They've secured Miller and Pierce, plus an Arxian defector. They're en route to Rendezvous Point Delta." The president nodded. "And the council's response to our terms?" "Nothing official yet," Patricia replied. "But we're seeing increasing divisions among their leadership. Several species have withdrawn their ships from the fleet approaching Earth." Admiral Scott smiled slightly. "The Arctians have officially declared neutrality in the conflict. 3 other minor species have followed their lead." "And Vextar?" the president asked. "Still refusing to negotiate, but his support is crumbling." President Harding stood and moved to the window, looking up at the night sky. John believed peaceful cooperation with the galaxy was possible. He died for that belief. She turned back to her advisors. We will honor him by creating the peace he envisioned, even if we must force it into existence. In council space, more ships quietly left the invasion fleet. The humans had proven far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The 12-hour deadline approached its final minutes. In the council chamber, representatives argued bitterly. Many had already accepted that resistance against Earth was futile. Others, mostly those closest to Vexstar, still called for fighting to the end. Better to die with dignity than submit to primitives, the Crawl representative growled. An aide rushed into the chamber and whispered to several delegates. The news spread quickly. 6 more council worlds had declared neutrality. The invasion fleet had lost nearly half its ships. Vexstar stood alone at the center podium, his once imposing figure now seeming smaller. "I will not surrender to human demands," he declared. "As High Counselor, I—" "You are High Counselor no longer," interrupted the Zephyrian delegate. "By emergency vote, the Council has removed you from leadership." Security officers entered the chamber. For a moment, Vexstar looked as if he might resist. Then his shoulders sagged. "You doom us all," he said as they led him away. The new acting leader, a Zephyrian named Torlak, immediately opened a channel to Earth. "President Harding, the Council accepts your terms. We request a ceasefire and formal negotiations." On Earth, the war room erupted in cheers. President Harding maintained her composure as she addressed the Zephyrian. "We accept your surrender. Earth forces will occupy Aurelia Station while a new galactic charter is drafted." Within hours, human ships appeared in orbit around the Council's most important worlds. They had been there all along, hidden by technology the Council had never suspected existed. 1 week later, Susan Miller stood beside President Harding as they boarded a shuttle to Aurelia Station. Susan had been appointed as Earth's new ambassador. "Are you ready for this?" President Harding asked her. Susan nodded. "John would have wanted me to continue his work. A better galaxy for everyone, not just the powerful." The shuttle docked at a transformed Aurelia Station. Human forces maintained security, but they worked alongside aliens from dozens of species. The atmosphere was cautious but hopeful. In the main council chamber, representatives gathered for the signing of the new charter. The room had been redesigned. At its center stood a memorial, a simple hologram showing John Carter as he had appeared during his final speech. Torlak, still acting as interim council leader, addressed the assembly. "Today marks a new beginning for our galactic community. Recent events have taught us painful but necessary lessons about power, justice, and the danger of arrogance." He turned to the human delegation. "We misjudged humanity, to our great cost. We saw your rapid advancement as a threat rather than an opportunity." President Harding stepped forward. "And we revealed only a fraction of our capabilities, fearing prejudice. Both sides must learn from these mistakes." The new charter was signed by representatives from every species, including many that had previously been excluded from full council membership. It guaranteed equal rights, transparent justice, and mutual defense. In a secure facility on the rebuilt Crawl homeworld, Commander Ellis watched as Vexstar and his closest allies faced trial. The proceedings were broadcast across the galaxy as a reminder that even the most powerful were not above justice. "Did we go too far?" Ellis asked Major Wright, who stood beside him. Olivia shook her head. "We did what was necessary. The protocol worked exactly as intended. Annihilation without destruction," Ellis mused. "Breaking their power without breaking their worlds." 6 months later, Susan Miller stood in the newly named Carter Memorial Hall on Aurelia Station. The council had been reformed with human guidance. Technology was being shared. Trade flourished. Zithral joined her at the window overlooking the stars. "Your people have changed everything," the Arxian observed. Susan watched as ships from a dozen worlds docked at the station. John believed different species could work together despite our differences. He was right. Below the memorial hologram, a plaque displayed John Carter's final words. "Earth will not forget. Earth will not forgive." But someone had added a new line beneath: Annihilation Protocol. Completed. Not the destruction of the Council, but the annihilation of fear, arrogance, and injustice. A new galaxy had emerged from the ashes of the old order, and humanity stood at its center, no longer hidden, no longer alone.